Hello and welcome to today's episode of pianoTV. I am Allysia, your host, and today we are going to talk about cadences. Cadences are something that we've already talked about a little bit on this channel in a beginner sense, so if you have no idea what a cadence is, I definitely recommend you check out our Intro to Cadences video because that'll feed into today's video and give you a little bit of background. Today's video is going to be more focused on the practical application of cadences, how to play them, why they matter at all. If you're a songwriter, cadences are probably something useful to know. Same if you're jamming. But it's also something that if you're doing exams, like for example, your Royal Conservatory Grade 5, Grade 6 exam, and so on, you need to be able to play cadences at the end of your triads. It's just part of the technical requirements. So I'm going to show you how to do those today, just to get you started at a grade 5 and 6 level. And even if you're not doing exams, I hope that you'll still find a little bit of use in this video. It's going to be a pretty short one today, so let's get started. If you're doing an RCM grade 5 or 6 exam, you're going to need to play these cadences at the end of your triads. For the rest of you who aren't doing these exams, this is just useful information to know because it expands your understanding of chords. So the cadence that you need to be able to play at this level is what we call a perfect cadence. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say that, I will recommend again that you go check out the video all about cadences, kind of like decode some of this stuff. But this is the specific pattern that you have to be able to play. Okay, so this is just Roman numerals. We got 1 to 5 to 1. So if you're playing a triad, a series of triads in the key of C, okay? C is number 1 because you're in the key of C, so that's like your starting point. That's number 1. And then the 5th chord in the pattern, C, D, E, F, G. So your cadence chord progression would be going from C to G to C. Okay, and you want to think of cadences like musical punctuation. So you'll play your series of C major triads, and then once you're finished, you play this little C, G, C progression, and it's like adding a period to the end of a sentence. The 1 and the 5 chord are the strongest chords in any key, like C major, D major, whatever. So it's really useful to know these chords as well as you know the back of your hand. Like you want to just kind of be able to instinctively, I'm snapping my fingers, you can't see, but you want to be able to instinctively understand them. Okay, so let's do a couple more examples before hopping to the keyboard. Say you're in the key of E. E major is then going to be your starting point, so your 1 chord is E, and then your middle chord would be E, D, or sorry, let's make sure I know my alphabet. E, F, G, A, B is your 5th chord. So your chord progression here would be an E chord to a B chord to an E chord. If you were doing F chord, you'd go F chord to C chord to F chord, and so on. Anyway, I said this already basically, but this is really useful in any type of songwriting and jamming situation because having an understanding of what chords are relevant in what keys it just helps your instincts. And even if you're not jamming or improvising, this also deepens your understanding of music in general. Okay, so how do you play it? Our left hand is going to be playing the bass notes. So if our cadence goes from a C chord to a G chord to a C chord, our left hand is going to be playing a C, a G, and a C. Now it's our right hand's job to fill in the chords. It's doing the full notes of C, the full notes of G, and again, the full notes of C chord. But you might have already noticed this. We don't want to play these chords in their root form. So look how much of a leap my right hand has to do to play them in root position. It not only feels awkward to play, but it also sounds kind of awkward too. So to remedy this, we need to do some chord inversions. And this is going to make them easier to play. But aside from that, it sounds smoother and more unified when the notes are closer together and they're not leaping around so much. Okay, so we're going to keep C chord in its root format. If you're doing a C triad, just a short one here, you're ending with the C chord in root position. So it makes sense to keep this one exactly the same. But what we're going to do here is manipulate the G chord so that it gets in closer to a closer position to C chord. So let's take a look at this for a second. Here are the 3 notes of C chord. C, E, G. Here are the 3 notes of G chord. G, B, D. Now you notice there's actually one note that overlaps between the 2 chords, the G. So to keep this as seamless as a transition as possible, it makes sense that we keep this G in our C chord in the exact same spot because that'll help minimize our movement. One of our fingers can just stay put. So here we go. We just move our lower 2 notes, a B and D. Instead of playing them up there, we just play them down here. So now you're just kind of your pinky is anchoring the chords, and it sounds a lot nicer too. And we put that all together, we get this. Now let's do a 1 octave, hands together, broken C triad. There you go. So that's how it would sound in like full context. You could do, let's do like a D major. We'll do it solid, 1 octave. Then we go D to A. And again, we're keeping that top note the same. We can do like E flat. So we're doing E flat to B flat to E flat. So 1 to 5 to 1, etc. It's really, really simple, and you can probably hear how it ends. It really caps things off nicely. It makes it sound like the end of a sentence. Okay, so now that we've got the hang of that, we've talked about that, we have one other aspect of this to talk about. We've been doing major key cadences, but now we have to look at minor key cadences. When you're playing triads in a minor key, like C minor, G minor, or whatever, you also need to play minor key cadences. Otherwise, it's just going to be really awkward and awful sounding. Now, where this gets a little bit complicated is, unlike major scales, minor scales have a few different forms. Okay, so there's only one way to play a major scale, but there are several ways to play a minor scale. If we were to do the cadence in a natural minor key, for example, and if you want to know more about like different minor keys, like natural minor, harmonic minor, etc., we have done videos on that, so you can reference those for more. But if we were doing a cadence pattern, a chord pattern in a minor key, a natural minor key, it would look like this. Again, Roman numerals. You'll notice that they're all lowercase this time. And the lowercase Roman numeral just represents a minor chord. So this progression, if we were in the key of C minor is our starting chord, and then the middle one would be G minor. Okay? Now, if I were to do this cadence in a harmonic minor key, it would look different. It would look like this. We have our minor chord, the 1 chord. Then we have a major 5 chord, and then we have another minor. So it's minor, major, minor. Now, this is the most common way that you'll see cadences played in classical music. So this is the version that we use like when we're studying Royal Conservatory exams and doing cadences for our grade 5 and stuff like that. We're going to use this one, not this one. So this means our chord pattern is going to be C minor to G major. I'll put like a little natural sign to really drive home that it's a major chord, not a minor chord, and then C minor again. Now, really, the only difference between regular cadences that we already talked about that go 1 to 5 to 1 and this one are like the minor chords versus the 1 chords are minor versus being major, but the middle chord stays exactly the same. So like you might go from C chord to G chord to C chord in our major pattern, but we're going C minor to G to C minor. Hopefully you can see how they're very, very closely related. So let's use C minor as kind of our guinea pig here. We're playing our C minor triad. Now at the end, C minor, G major. Doesn't that sound really neat? It adds like such an awesome, fun flavor. And you can compare that to the G minor sound, like if we're doing a natural minor scale. So here's our set of triads. So here we go. Entirely different flavor when it's a natural minor sound. The harmonic minor sound is much more common. Let's do one more example of that. So how about D minor? So here's our D minor chord. Let's do it solid. Speed it up. When we get to the bottom, we play D minor. And then the 5th, which is a major chord. Very nice, right? And that's really all there is to it. If you are doing your Royal Conservatory exams, this is something you need to know. But for those of you who aren't doing your Royal Conservatory exams, doing different exams or no exams at all, you can just file this away as like a good to know in the mental database. And there's more to technique than just scales too. So I hope this reminds you that you could be playing chords and triads as part of your like technical exercises, and then you can tack on some cadences to the ends of those and give that a try. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I have a lentil stuck in my throat and I feel like I'm gonna start coughing. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Come visit me over on social media. And of course, hang out on our Patreon page. See you later, guys. And I just had like a tired moment. My brain just went blank.